Hi guys, it's Kayla here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a little book haul, another one. I know it hasn't been that long, but I found a really good deal that I just could not pass up. So there is a little building behind my public library, my big public library downtown, and it's connected to the library somehow. I'm not sure how, but every Friday they have book sales, used book sales. Some of the books that they get are from the library itself. Some of them are from people donating stuff, which is really nice. So every Friday they have book sales, and you would not believe it. Like I think it's fiction. Yeah, fiction books are 50 cents a piece, and nonfiction are $1 a piece. Like, doesn't matter how big, how popular, nothing. I was like, oh my god. I went there yesterday and got 14 books for $7. Like, that is an amazing deal. I was so happy. I almost wanted to hit myself forever going to Barnes & Noble, but I love Barnes & Noble. I mean, you can find what you want from Barnes & Noble, brand new, fresh copy, you know, so I mean, it's not a bad thing. But, so, I mean, a lot of the books that I got yesterday, they're pretty battered up. It's to be expected. They're old library books or donated books, so, but that's okay. I really don't mind that much. I mean, my books get battered so bad. Because I take them everywhere, I write in them, I dog ear. I don't use bookmarks. I used to when I was a kid, but I found that, like, I tried to use them, but I found that they didn't work for me because I kept losing them, or they would slip out of my book, or I'd forget them. So I figured out that dog earing is the best for me. I don't mind dog earing books. It doesn't bother me at all. It's a nice way to always keep your place and not, you know, lose it. If I borrow other people's books though, I don't dog ear them. Unless they say I can, but then I usually still don't, just because they're not my books. But anyways, whew, it's hot in here. So yeah, so I got my little book haul. They're kind of all over the place, but I'm really happy with what I got, so I want to show you. So these are in no order. I could try to put them in the order that I got them, but I don't know if I'll remember because I was kind of all over the store. It's a small little store, so like you're constantly squeezing past people, but they have fiction, nonfiction, reference books, they have kids books, they have movies, DVDs, audiobooks, they have all kinds of stuff. And so yesterday when I went after work, I did an unhaul of my library. I didn't film it because it wasn't really an unhaul of mine. Most of the books I took out were ones that were JC's, and there were books that I was so not into, he wasn't into, so I mean, it would be weird to do an unhaul of books that were not mine. So I dropped those off there because you can donate there, and then I went book shopping and it was great. So I will show you the first one that I got. So the first one I got was Darker by E.L. James. This is part 2 of, it's not the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. I'm reading Grey? Yeah, I'm reading Grey right now, which is part 1, which is, it's basically 50 Shades of Grey as told by Christian. This is part 2 of that. This would be 50 Shades Darker by as told by Christian. So I'm enjoying Grey right now. I'm not sure if I will read the second one, but I bought it because I was like, it's 50 cents, and if I do want to finish reading them, I have the second one ready to go. So got that one. The next book I got is Winter's Tale by Mark Helprin. And this is a pretty fat book. I didn't even know this was a book. I've watched the movie. I loved the movie. Me and my sister loved this movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's really sweet. It's about this guy. Oh my gosh, I don't know what time period this is from. But it makes you feel like it's like early 1900s New York City, and it's the guy is played by Colin Farrell, which he's so hot. He's so beautiful. And he's like a thief, and he breaks into this really wealthy house. Then he sees that the daughter of the person that lives there is there, and he like falls in love with her. It's not insta love, but it's, I don't know, it's so sweet. And she's like sick, but there's like a mystical element to this book. It's just, oh, it's so, And it's so big. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to read this story. There's so much to it. I'm excited. And of course it's going to be, hopefully it'll be like a million times better than the movie because there's so much more detail. So I found this. I'm so excited to read it. Okay. All right. Next one that I found is Girl with a Pearl Earring by Tracy Chevalier. I don't know if that's how you say it. Chevalier. That's probably the very American way to say it, but I want to imagine that it's pronounced Chevalier, which I know I have a horrible French accent, but sorry. Anyways, Girl with a Pearl Earring. I really love old art. I like old masterpieces, and this is one that I've always loved. I saw them. There's a movie, The Girl with a Pearl Earring. I don't know. Is this what? It doesn't say anything. It doesn't say anything on the cover about it becoming a motion picture, but it is. I've seen the movie. It's really good. This girl is played by Scarlett Johansson, and she is like a maid in the house of the guy who paints this. So he's like a famous painter, and he becomes taken with her. Like, I think he's married. He might have children too, but he kind of becomes taken with her, and I can't remember if they have an affair, but I also get the feeling that he's kind of a creepster and she's kind of like trying to stay away from him, but he makes her like pose for this painting that becomes so famous. I haven't seen the movie in so long, but it was good. It was really good. I remember really liking it. So when I found this book, I was so excited to read it. It says, you know, winner of the Barnes & Noble Discover Great New Writers Award. So, I mean, it seems like a good book. It's not very, you know, and it's in one of the better conditions, because a lot of the books that I got, they're kind of in, you know, not as great of condition because they were library books. So I'm excited about reading this one. All right, next book that I got is The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. This book is in almost perfect condition. I mean, it was a library book, but look at how pristine it is. And I'm not surprised because this is not easy to read, nor is it fun to read, I don't think. I've read snippets of it in school. I know we would have to read some stories, some tales, I guess. And it's really hard to read, to understand. I wasn't crazy about it, but it's one of those stories or collections of stories that I want to read, because if you really read it and get into it and study it and stuff like that, you can find the good in it and the beauty in it, and that's what I want. Plus, it's a super old piece of writing. Like, it's written in Old English. I think it was originally written in Old English, which is fascinating. I like seeing the two together and like trying to figure out how they're similar, how they're different, and it's just fascinating. So I'm excited to read this. This is a classic. I love classics. So yeah, I'm excited to read this. So it's part of my collection now. Okay, the next one that I got is The Painted Veil by W. Somerset Maugham. And this is also a classic. I started reading this long time ago when I was a teenager. I loved classics even then, and I read it a long time. Well, I read half of it. I literally read half of it. Got it from the library, read half of it, loved it, but for some reason I stopped reading it. It might have gotten tough, like it might have gotten sad or something, but I really loved it. And then later on, I found out it was a movie, so I watched them. Actually, that might be why I didn't finish it. I might have been reading it, found out it was a movie, watched the movie, knew how it ended, and then I was like, I don't want to read it no more. So dumb. I've watched the movie several times now. I love the movie. It stars Edward Norton, which I love. I love Edward Norton. He's good. I like him. He's kind of creepy. God, I love him. That's weird. And it also stars, oh my god, that blonde girl. The blonde mom from the Ring movies, and she's in lots of stuff. She was in King Kong. She was the blonde girl in King Kong. Oh, Naomi Watts. Gosh, God. Anyways, the girl is played by Naomi Watts, who I love her too. And it's a story about a wife and a husband, and in early, where is it? Oh, 1920s. Okay. This is like a 1920s England, I believe. Is it England? Yeah, it is. Oh my god. Set in 1920s England, and it's about a husband and a wife, and he's like a scientist somehow, and she is young and beautiful. Well, he's young too, but she's young and beautiful and likes to go out and party and just be, you know, she's very, what would you call it? She's very materialistic. She's very selfish, self-centered. She comes from a very wealthy family, and she married him because her family like pushed her to. She didn't really want to. She found him boring. She wasn't really that interested in him. So they're married for a little bit, and then she starts having an affair, and then he finds out, and oh my gosh, the craziest thing. She expects him to break up with her, like divorce her, and then she can finally be with this other guy who's also married. But she's dumb because she finds out he's not going to leave his wife. And then she realizes, oh, he never really loved me anyway. I was just a fling. But her husband, instead of divorcing her, he takes her. So it's funny. It's funny, but it's not funny. He drags her to Hong Kong because he's going there to try and figure out why their little villages are getting so sick and dying, and he wants to try and solve the water problem. He thinks that they have messed up water. I don't know. It's a cholera epidemic. That is where they're going, in the middle of the cholera epidemic. And he's taking her with him. And back in the day, you know, women didn't have that many choices, so she had to go. She couldn't be by herself because her family wasn't going to take her back. Her lover wasn't going to take her. She would have been destitute. So he drags her there. He's upset. He's really in love with her, but he really only fell in love with her beauty and her charm. He didn't really even get to know her. It was almost like he put her on a pedestal. She showed him that she is human and she makes mistakes and she's not perfect. So they're, oh my gosh, they take this long trip to Hong Kong. They hate each other. They're miserable. He's doing this. He really does want to help people, but at the same time, inside, he's kind of hoping that he'll die, that she'll die, like revenge and stuff like that, and she knows that. And as the story progresses, they start living in this little community, and he's working so hard he's just burying himself in work, and he's trying to figure out why these people are getting so sick. And she's terrified. She gets so bored. There's nothing to do there. There's no people to see, nothing. No one speaks. She doesn't speak the language. So she starts exploring and meeting people. And as the story progresses and she starts becoming a better person. Like, she starts really she doesn't have to focus on the materialistic things in life anymore. She can focus on what's in front of her, and she starts helping people, and she starts really getting involved in the community, and he starts seeing that, and they start learning about each other. Like, she had never really even paid attention to him. So when she starts watching him, like how he's working, his dedication, how smart he is, and how good he is with the village people, she starts looking at him in a different way, and he starts looking at her in a different way. And it's such a great love story. It's a good love story. It's called The Painted Veil. I won't tell you the ending. It's a good story, though. You should definitely read it. It's a short read. It's really not that long. But it's one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite stories. I've watched the movie many times, and I love it. So I'm really glad I finally have the book, and I can finally finish it. I'll start over because it's been years, probably at least a decade. Probably at least a decade since I've read this, but so The Painted Veil. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, the next book I got. Oh my god. I was so happy I found this. I found this at the end of my shopping trip. I can't believe I found it. Call Me by Your Name by Andre Aciman. I don't know how to say that. I should Google it. But Call Me by Your Name. Oh my god, this story. If you've read this, I have not read it. I watched the movie last year because I was on this I was on a little challenge of I wanted to watch all of the movies and documentaries that were nominated for an Oscar for last year. and this was one of them. And I watched the movie and I fell in love. It is such an awesome movie. The story is incredible. It's about this young boy. He's a teenager and he lives in France. Oh no, he lives in Italy right now, and he meets this, I think he's a college guy. It's about I'm so bad at explaining books. It's about a teenage boy, teenage guy. I don't want to say boy. I don't know how old he is, but he's a teenager. And so it's about a teenager boy and a summer house guest who is working with his father. His father's a professor, and this guy, which I think he's also like, he's a college student, I think. He's staying there for the summer with his family to work with his professor dad. They fall in love with each other. It is so beautiful. This takes place in the 80s, I think. Or at least it did in the movie. In the movie, the book took place in the 80s. In the book, I don't know if it's the same, but it's a gay love story, and both of them are not. They're hiding that they're gay. I think at least in the movie, it was the 80s and not as acceptable to be gay, so they hide it. The teenage boy is fighting his feelings. He's confused because these are probably the first real romantic feelings he's had for somebody, and he's going through puberty and stuff like that. But it is a beautiful story, a beautiful love story. I adored this movie so much. I cried. It's beautiful. Once you find out why it's called Call Me By Your Name, you're just gonna melt. Like, it's just wonderful. It's wonderful. I cannot wait to read this book. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy I found it. All right, next book I found, Flawless by Matt Bondurant. What? Oh my god. I'm so dumb. So, the reason why I bought this is because I first saw it as a movie. I didn't know it was a book. And Tom Hardy is in it, and he's the love of my life. He's my husband, in my head, clearly. And it's such a good movie, such a good story. It takes place in the 1920s, I want to say? It takes place during Prohibition in the U.S., and it's about these brothers, the Bondurant brothers, and how they're involved in illegal activity, moonshining, Prohibition stuff, and how they stick together, and how they're known as like not the bad guys, but like they're known as the bad boys in town, and people respect them, but they fear them. It's just such a great story. The movie was really good. I loved it. And it has Jessica Chastain in it, which I love her. She is my total girl crush. I love her, love her, love her. I love all of her movies. So when I saw it was a book, I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to pick this up. I just figured out it was written by Matt Bondurant. So I was like, whoa, this is a true story written by a relative of these people in real life. It says, based on the true story of Matt Bondurant's grandfather and 2 grand uncles. How did I know? I didn't know. Like, that makes it even 50 times cooler. Like, that's so fascinating. I cannot wait to read this. And there's a little bit of, there's some love stories in here. There's action. There's, it's just great. Oh, I love gritty. It almost feels like Western, but it's not. I think it's like more southern United States. I'm not sure. But I'm so excited to read this. It's going to be so good. And I can picture Tom Hardy. Next book I found. I was really happy I found it because I don't have it. And it's 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James. Again, this is just a guilty pleasure. I have 50 Shades Darker. I have 50 Shades Freed. I don't know why I don't have 50 Shades of Grey. I used to have it because I remember I bought it from Barnes & Noble, and that's how I read it. I must have borrowed it to somebody. But, so I saw this and I was like, 50 cents. It's kind of beat up a little bit. Big surprise. It's so popular and famous. But at least now I have a complete collection of them. So I got it. Okay, next book I got was The English Patient by Michael Ondate. Oh my god, I don't know how to say this. Michael Ondate. Michael Ondate, I think. Michael Ondate. I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure. Again, I think the whole theme of my whole book haul was movies. Movies I've seen, and I wanted to read the book. I feel like that's my little thing. But found The English Patient. This is a movie. It has Ralph Fiennes in it, which I love him. He's Voldemort in all the Harry Potter movies. But I like him because he usually plays a bad guy. Like, I've seen him play the bad guy in Red Dragon, and he's the bad guy in the Harry Potter movies. There's only one other movie I've seen him that he wasn't like a creep, and that was Made in Manhattan, which with Jennifer Lopez. It's a rom-com. I hate saying that. It's a romantic comedy. But I love him. And this is An English Patient. And this is, oh my god, kill me. This is The English Patient. I can't wait to read this. It is, I've never seen the movie. It just says, with ravishing beauty and unsettling intelligence, Michael Ondate's Booker Prize winning novel traces the intersection of 4 damaged lives in an Italian villa at the end of World War II. Hannah, the exhausted nurse, the maimed thief, Caravaggio, the wary sapper, Kip, each is haunted by the riddle of the English patient, the nameless, burned man who lies in an upstairs room and whose memories of passion, betrayal, and rescue illuminate this book like flashes of heat lightning. Oh my gosh. The movie, I mean, it was an Academy Award winner, I guess. The movie won an Academy Award. It's a historical fiction, World War II love story. I mean, it sounds like it has so much good stuff. I've been wanting to watch the movie. I never have. I've been wanting to read the book. Now I have it. I cannot wait to read it. So, can't wait to read this one. The next book I got, The Iliad by Homer. This is almost in near perfect condition. And again, I'm not surprised. This oh my god, look, it says Borders. You guys remember Borders? Oh, I had so many good memories at Borders. You know what? I actually liked Borders more than I liked Barnes & Noble back in the day when there was a choice. But I really think that was just based on my local stores and like how they looked and how they felt. I just loved Borders. And I spent a lot of time in Borders in my first year of college when I was at Purdue. They had a Borders there. And that year they closed it down. They were closing down all of them, I guess. Oh, good memories. I loved Borders. So that's where this is from. But this is a classic. It's The Iliad by Homer. It's a what do they call it? It's an epic poem. But it's written like a book. Look at that. It's not written in its normal poem style, which I thought was kind of interesting. But it's in near perfect condition. Again, I'm not surprised. It is not easy to read. This is tackled by the real brave readers. I've read parts of it, very like snippets. I have read snippets of it in school and stuff, like most of us have, and it's good. It's just it's a classic. It's not easy to get into, but I wanted it as part of my collection. I do want to read this. This is on my list of books to read and study and stuff like that. It might take a little while, but I'm glad I have it. So next book I have was this really cute book. It's called Rabbit Cake by Annie Hartnett. Rabbit Cake by Annie Hartnett. And I'm going to read you the backstory because they can tell it way better than I can. Elvis Babbitt has a head for the facts. She knows science proves yellow is the happiest color. She knows that the naked mole rat is the longest living rodent. She also knows she plans to grieve her mother, who has recently drowned while sleepwalking for exactly 18 months. But there are things Elvis doesn't yet know, like how to keep her sister Lizzie from poisoning herself while sleep eating, or why her father has started wearing her mother's silk bathrobe around the house. Elvis investigates the strange circumstances of her mother's death and finds comfort, if not answers, in the people and animals of Freedom, Alabama. As hilarious a storyteller as she is heartbreakingly honest, Elvis is a truly original voice in this exploration of grief, family, and the endurance of humor after loss. This sounded so cute. I like that it's humorous. It sounds funny, but what really got my attention was the character Elvis. She sounds like she has Asperger's or something. Some kind of, she has, you can tell that maybe OCD, I don't know. There's something about her that's different, and I cannot wait to figure out what it is. It's fascinating. Or maybe she just sees the world differently. Maybe she just latches on to facts. But I'm getting a very Sheldon vibe. I don't know if Sheldon has Asperger's, but I'm getting a Sheldon vibe about the fact that she's planning on grieving for 18 months. Like, you can't do that. You can try, but grief is grief. It takes however long it's gonna take. But so I'm assuming she's gonna figure that out. But it sounded like a really good, cute story, and I'm excited to read it. So next book I'm really excited about. It's called The Dante Club by Matthew Pearl, a novel. You're probably not surprised. I'm not surprised why I wanted to read this. Look, Dante. I love the Inferno. I love the Divine Comedy. It's one of my favorites. I actually considered going to grad school and becoming a literature professor, but like, what do you call it? But specializing in Dante Alighieri and his works. I actually considered that. I figured what would I would think like, what would I pick when I become a professor at grad school, PhD, and it was going to be Dante because I'm obsessed. So, but I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I really cannot handle any more student debt. My God. The Dante Club, it looks really good. Let me read you the back. It says Boston, 1865, a series of murders, all of them inspired by scenes in Dante's Inferno. Only an elite group of America's first Dante scholars, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Oliver Wendell Holmes, James Russell Lowell, and J.T. Fields can solve the mystery. With the police baffled, more lives endangered, and Dante's literary future at stake, the Dante Club must shed its sheltered literary existence and find the killer. It has everything I love. It's a period piece, it's a murder mystery, it has Dante in it, it has famous writers and scholars that are obsessed with it like I am. I'm not a famous writer or scholar, but I'm obsessed with it. Oh, I cannot wait to read this. This is going to be so good. Look at that. The Dante Club. I just love period pieces, whether it's a movie or a book. Love them. All right. Next book I got, I'm really happy I found. The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. I have not read this. I know a lot of people have. A lot of people have this assigned as part of required reading in school, high school, college, whatever. I've never read this. I've only ever read one book by Toni Morrison, and it was Beloved, and it was a book that changed my DNA makeup. No, that's not true. Beloved, her book Beloved, it's one of the books that has had the biggest impact on me. It will stay with me. I would call it one of my favorite books, not because it's like great material, like, ooh, it makes me feel good and happy. No, it is tough material, but it's written so beautifully. Beloved is written so beautifully. It kind of reminds me, it's nothing like The Great Gatsby, but when I read The Great Gatsby, the writing is gorgeous. It's just, ooh, there's something about it. And her writing gives me that same feeling. And it's weird because the topic in Beloved is so not a beautiful topic. It's rough, it's bad, it's horrific. But her writing is gorgeous. So there you got that juxtaposition, which just makes the story even crazier. Oh my God. If you've never read Beloved, read it. Read it. It's rough though. Like, if you're sensitive, don't read it. I think I had to read it. I had to read it in college. I don't know if I ever would have picked it up, but I didn't know anything about it until I took that class, and oh my God, it's totally something I would read. I read really awful stuff. I think if you're a true crime freak, you can handle a lot of messed up stuff. So it's a messed up thing that happens in that book, and it's really good. So when I saw The Bluest Eye, I know how popular this is. I know this is one of those books I need to read before I die. I've loved Toni Morrison, and I'm excited to read this. It's not very long. It's about Pecola Breedlove, a young black girl prays every day for beauty, mocked by other children for the dark skin, curly hair, and brown eyes that set her apart. She yearns for the blonde hair and blue eyes that she believes will allow her to finally fit in. Yet, as her dream grows more fervent, her life slowly starts to disintegrate in the face of adversity and strife. A brilliant examination of our obsession with beauty and conformity. Toni Morrison's Oh my god, this was her first novel? Oh god. Toni Morrison's virtuosic... I don't know how to say that. Virtuosic. Toni Morrison's virtuosic first novel asks powerful questions about race, class, and gender with the subtlety and grace that have always characterized her writing. Oh my god, this is probably going to be another one that I love. Toni Morrison writes amazing things. She writes about the tough stuff, but she does it in a way that she has just beautiful writing. Her writing is, like, it's one of those books where you will highlight to death because she just has a way with words, and I'm excited to read this. I'm glad it's part of my collection. I would call this a classic. It's definitely good literature, and I'm excited to read it. Last book that I got, Walden and Other Writings by Henry David Thoreau. Oh, Henry David Thoreau. I've never read this all the way through. I've read snippets. Again, it's written, wait a minute. Oh. There's some poems in it. There's prose. It's mostly nonfiction. I think it's just about him writing, like, what his experience was like when he left civilization and decided to go live at Walden in the nature. And, okay, so I guess I'll read the back. The quintessential Back to Nature book, Walden is an account of Thoreau's attempt to find a spiritual awakening by returning to a simple life in the Massachusetts woodlands. Thoreau rediscovers the beauty of the natural world, but also skims off the lessons of nature. He draws inspiration from the song of the wood thrush and gains life lessons from the creatures he watches, such as the lowly caterpillar that emerges from its cocoon, a resplendent butterfly. But the spiritual sojourner also struggles to integrate his animal instincts with his higher instincts. Though he can experience himself as a simple part of the growth cycle as he tends his bean field, he also recognizes his need for intellectual and spiritual fulfillment. Thoreau's rejection of the values of the then burgeoning Industrial Revolution still reverberates for contemporary readers. His quest for something deeper and more meaningful than materialism created a work that gave form to some of man's deepest, I can't say that, inchoate, I-N-C-H-O-A-T-E. I've never seen that word in my life. Oh my god. Some of man's deepest inchoate yearnings. Written with poetry and fire, Walden remains one of literature's greatest roadmaps to the divine. So I've read little bits and pieces of this throughout school and stuff. I was always fascinated with Henry David Thoreau. I think he's real interesting. It's a piece of classic literature I want on my shelf. I do want to read it someday all the way through, really look at it, study it, stuff like that. And I'm glad I found it. So yeah, that's the last book I found. So yeah, 14 books, $7. So many good ones. This time around, I was really just looking for books that I recognized by title, ones that I've been wanting to read. I didn't spend time really looking at books, reading the backs, discovering new books. This first round, I just wanted to get what I knew, but also what I wanted. So I'm really glad I did that. And yeah, so that's it for my book haul. Thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please hit the like button. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Oh wait, I forgot to put this little bit in. You see it all together. Ooh. Look at all these books. Oh, yay, look at all of them. Oh gosh. Plus, I need all these books because I need to fill up my shelves.